Hello, my name is Bob Heaney, Senior Research Analyst at the Aberdeen Group. Today we're going to be talking about optimizing transportation procurement and spend under globalization. To begin with, we want to talk about the PACE framework, which is our methodology that we use. We send surveys out to a supply chain community of about 35,000 professionals, end users, and those end users answer questions around the P, pressures, A, actions, C, capabilities, and E, enablers. Where the pressures are the external forces causing focus on a particular topic, in this case transportation. The actions are the strategic approaches that an organization takes in response to these pressures. Capabilities are the business competencies and the ability of the organization from the standpoint of process, knowledge management, and capabilities required to execute that strategy. The enablers are key technology solutions required to support the organization's practices. We then take and go through a maturity class framework where we stratify the respondents according to KPIs. So on the left we have revenue metrics, cost, campaign metrics that in aggregate are answered by each of the respondents, and the best in class bubble up to the top 20%, the best performers in the top 20%. Industry average, middle 50%, and laggards form the bottom 30%. We then are able to really stratify what the best in class are doing, how they're doing it differently, what they're avoiding. We're also able to look at some of the things that maybe are leading to their success. What are the capabilities and enablers that they have that are allowing them to do a better job and address the pressures and actions that we've listed before? So now let's dive into what's happening systemically across today's supply chain. So where does your company currently have suppliers? We asked this question to 181 companies in June and came up with pretty much a global presence. No matter where you are operating from as your home country, you're involved in all these other countries as well. And as you think about that, that means that currency and unit of measure conversions are important when it comes to both freight and logistics. Likewise, same situation when it comes to customers, a global nature to our supply chains today, dictating that there's a lot of collaboration that needs to go on in order to orchestrate these events. And when we think about orchestrating the events, there are many different interface points and the complexities that crop up with the global supply chain. As we think about both information flows at the top, the satellite representing orders coming in, whether it's over the web, whether it be through the internet, regardless of the way the orders are triggering, there is supply that flows. If you think from left to right, from raw materials in Canada through components, all the way through your manufacturing finished goods, into global distribution centers in Europe, out to your customers in Russia, whether it's a home, whether it's a retail store. A lot of different interaction points and partners in the supply chain today. And then think about the modes of transportation. You've got ocean, air, rail, truck, parcel. All these things need to be synchronized, and today's complex global supply chain demands optimization. As we think then more specifically, what does that mean specifically for transportation? We asked the companies to rank transportation among other costs. And in this survey, we're seeing that the rising supply chain management cost was 50% of the respondents, indicating that their number one challenge today. The second challenge was the complexity at 36%. And when we think about specific to transportation, what does that translate to? For the 163 candidates that took the survey, they quote at almost 70% the volatility of fuel cost. Second to that is the awareness that cost overall, transportation, is a much bigger part of the supply chain cost today. So we look at the KPIs and we can see across 5 different KPIs, both cost and service related, that the best in class, the top 20%, are doing a better job in all of these metrics, whether it's a cost metric, service metric, time to invoice, and the amount of electronic presentment that they're doing with their invoices. So with those KPIs in mind, what are the top strategic actions companies are taking? Well, first of all, they're trying to automate and optimize from source all the way through to select the proper carrier, 48%. They're also automating data collection for freight spend, and then they're collaborating. They're providing a better look at their carrier selection and improving their internal processes. When we think about transportation, it's important to think about it in the closed loop management process. And here we're not going to go through each of these items, but if you look at the top, you analyze your existing spend, create RFPs, move through contracts, actually execute the freight with your carriers, track and trace the freight, and then finally pay it. Process capabilities are the best in class. The dark blue bars are the best in class, and they're doing a much better job. Anywhere from 56 to 75% of the best in class have these capabilities today. Whereas if you look at laggards, the average is around 35% of laggard companies have these capabilities today. So what are some of those? Practice multi-round bidding. Tracking of the total freight cost, incremental bidding requirements between contracts. These are things that require systems capabilities as well as process capabilities, and the best in class are doing a better job. Organizationally, they're also doing a better job. So not only do you have to have the capability, but this gets into is your organization structured around allowing your carriers to actually suggest alternate routing? 56% of the best in class can do that. A centralized transportation spend management platform. Again, capable in this global nature, in the global nature of our supply chain to deal with the different countries, the currencies, etc. Now, what does this translate to in terms of the actual cost of freight invoice payment? The cost per invoice for the best in class was $10.98. It was almost 2.6 times as large as that for the laggard companies at $26 a invoice. So you can see the savings that are represented across the two groups in both time and in cost per invoice managed. Automated automation gaps, plan, route, and deliver. Again, 163 companies. Look at the ones in highlights here. These are capabilities that the best in class have a fairly dramatic advantage on. 63% of the best in class can incorporate trade functionality, only 18% of laggards. When it comes to enhanced support for delivery time and multi-period transportation plans, again, 56 versus 24. And multi-legged, multi-mode optimization. The best in class are 2.3 times as likely to do this at 56% versus 24 for others. So this all relates to basically a call for action. As we think about addressing the global nature of our supply chains, we need to do that in a way that's cost effective and that's strategically cost aligned. Companies that are best in class are demonstrating that by automating contract procurement and freight audit and payment collaboratively across their partner base, they're able to leverage cost advantages on their KPIs. Second, complete the spend management loop. Increase electronic payment automation. This involves all the things that we just talked about, multi-round bidding, as well as in how you're automated when it comes to payment and presentation of invoices. Then finally, tie planning and execution together in a more seamless fashion. And as we do that, we build that complete spend management loop, which allows us to look at our historical spend, optimize, and really take strategic advantage of the opportunities that are out there. We can take inbound and outbound spend together, consolidating our buys, and we can also integrate and synchronize planning and execution under unified spend management. These are the real advantages that the best-in-class have, and many of them are delivering a 33% or higher reduction in freight costs by taking advantage of strategic shifts. So we've talked a little bit today about the global nature of our supply chain, some top pressures around cost and complexity that are driving transportation to be a top focus. We then drilled into transportation a little bit more detailed and talked about the advantages of being more automated and more agile with the collaboration that's going on with your partners. And the result of that is the call to action to become more strategic in how you address the challenges of today's supply chain. So that concludes our session for today. You can find more information on this topic by going to aberdeen.com. Thank you.